Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Gridiron Gurus on this October 18th, 2023. And looks like we're going to have our normally 1 hour show because I remember last time we had some technical difficulties, but looks like we are ready to go. So alongside, I have my Mr. co-host, Mr. Scotty William. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, Sean. How about yourself, man?
I'm doing great. So we have some wonderful news. Sports for America has partnership with the called what's that play called? Drafters Fantasy Sports. So now we're able to do player props. So later on, before the show is over, we'll be doing the player props as usual with the own of Sports for America promo code. So please stay tuned for that. And if you have any questions about your team or not, please feel free to ask. All right. So it won't be pleasant to ask. All right. So we have Lions won, which I figured they was going to win. Then you had the Cowboys won. My Cowboys won. I was happy for that. And then Kansas City, and I told you about Thursday. I was like, Thursday was not going to be that great. Matter of fact, I didn't even watch the whole Thursday night football game because I was just looking at the score and stuff. Because I remember last time we thought like it was going to be a baseball game, but the baseball game was over the day before the Thursday night football game. So when I look at and then I heard about Russell Wilson's situation, because when you look at the Denver Broncos right now, because I'm thinking to myself, like, this could be a very tough decision after this season going forward, especially with Russell Wilson's situation, because like they have a certain amount of time to make the decision. Because if not, he's guaranteed. I can't think of the contract right now, top of my head. I'll look it up while you're talking.
Yeah, I mean, Russell, this will be the last year for Russell Wilson in Denver. I wouldn't even be surprised if he possibly could get traded at the deadline. Funnier things have happened. It's just not working out there. It hasn't worked out there. And I think in order to do anything, they're going to give Sean Payton a little bit of a leash because he's never had his quarterback per se there, so they're going to give him probably a couple of years or so to figure it out. But as for Russell Wilson, it just depends. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being traded at the deadline. It's just not working out there. And that 19-8 showing against the Kansas City Chiefs last week. He was 13 for 22 and 95 yards, a touchdown. Didn't look good at all, and it's not getting any better.
So as I'm looking at it right now, I was looking at his contract. Let's see. I just looked at the contract. So Russell Wilson already has $39 million guaranteed next season. So any kind of significant injury that would not allow him to pass physical in March will guarantee another $37 million. So they have. So at some point, the Broncos probably have to consider putting him as a starter as of right now. So like I said, this is going to be very tough for the Broncos to make. And I know they made a couple of cuts after the game was over on Thursday.
Yeah, and to the defense too, of all things. Frank Clark is gone, just to name a few. It's a sad situation. It really is. I always was a Russell Wilson guy when he was in Seattle, but since he left there, he's really been exposed. To me, when you look at it, it's like he was definitely, to me, a system quarterback, and I've talked about it before about Russell Wilson. But honestly, um, you know, I kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt last year because I know he was hurt and
Right.
he wasn't playing well. But now, is he still hurt? I don't know him. But I mean, when you're in your mid 30s, which Russell Wilson is, your playing time's coming to an end, unfortunately, and sooner than later, I think it'll be for Russell Wilson. But like I said, could he be traded at the deadline? It's possible, but it's possible. Nobody's wants to take on that kind of a salary contract.
Right. And then possibly could look for a quarterback to see which quarterback that could fit into Sean Payton's system.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't really know who's coming out next year. I mean,
Other than Caleb Williams.
well, Caleb Williams, but then the Bears have got the first 2 picks as of right now, so they need a quarterback. You could say
Carolina already got a quarterback, so they
yeah,
need a wide receiver.
yeah. So I could see maybe Justin Fields leaving the Bears next year. It's possible. I don't know if they want to give up on him that quick, but he's not done well since he's been there, and that could be management, coaching, which is what I think it is. But I think whoever ends up taking over there with the Bears, I think what you're gonna see is a complete rebuild again. And why not? You got the first 2 picks of the draft as of right now, and that would be a good way to kind of
Right.
rebuild. Or maybe they try to find somebody that works with Justin Fields if they think that he is the guy and get him some playmakers. I mean, DJ Moore is not a number one.
Right. We talked
And
about that.
we did, and since they gave up on David Montgomery, their running back situation's been abysmal.
Oh yeah.
And
No question about
they traded away their best middle linebacker last year to the Ravens. So I just don't understand what they're doing. It could be just salary dumps. I don't know, but I feel sorry if you're a Chicago Bear fan.
that. Exactly. But hey, at least the Baltimore Ravens won in London on Sunday. I know I was like, wait a sec, there is a game in London. So the Baltimore Ravens, and I gotta say to you, the Tennessee Titans went from being a Super Bowl contender to not just being just like playing trash. So as I was looking to the Ravens, because they did activate Keaton Mitchell from the injury reserve, but he didn't enter the running back situation. So Justin Hill, because he did start the game for Baltimore, unlike those past 3 games, but the rotation of him and Gus Edwards was similar to like the past games. They did see some significant stretches of plays before letting other one take over.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson was the leading rusher in that game for the Ravens, so that doesn't say much. I mean, if you are if you have to use a Baltimore running back, it's a coin toss every week. Gus Edwards could be one week, Justice Hill could be the next. Ever since
Exactly.
Dobbins went down, and honestly, there's never been a great running back in Baltimore in quite a long
Baltimore,
time.
right.
You know, so I mean, especially with Lamar because he throws and he runs the ball. So yeah, I mean, really, the only guy that's consistent offensively for fantasy would be Lamar Jackson on the Baltimore Ravens because I wouldn't even throw Mark Andrews, the tight end, in there. I mean, yeah, tight ends don't get you a ton of points every week, but I guess Mark Andrews could be a top 5, but
Oh yeah.
he's very inconsistent.
And then also when I look at Tennessee, like the only person I can think of from the wide receiver point is like DeAndre Hopkins. Everybody else, you don't know like who's going to be like that second best wide receiver outside of DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it last week, t- uh, Spears had was the most with 48 yards. He had one grab. Hopkins had one for 20, and the only guy that had one led reception wise was Westbrook, Nick Westbrook. Ikine, I think his last name is. So 3 receptions for 25 yards. Yeah, that's kind of a tricky. That's a running team, and they're going to run first, unfortunately. And we talked about it. DeAndre Hopkins is a hit and miss. He's a home run or bust every year. So I mean, or every week. So I don't know if Derrick Henry's the most consistent guy fantasy for them, week in and week out.
Exactly, because like you're saying, like the only person I can count on the Tennessee Titans is like Derrick Henry, but DeAndre Hopkins and Ryan Tannehill. It looks like Ryan Tannehill he's injured as well, as I saw on Sunday.
Yeah,
He's suffering right
I'm sorry,
Malik Willis.
Yeah, Malik Willis came in. Was 4 of 5 for 74 yards and 3 for 17 rushing. So, yeah, I mean, they are now 2-4. The Baltimore Ravens are 4-2, and they got the Lions this week. So,
Right. And that's Fox's game of the week,
yep, and
by the way.
that'll be interesting. That's going to be an interesting game for me. I mean, I was kind of shocked at how the Lions played against the Buccaneers this week, to a certain extent, just
Okay.
because when you're talking about how you try to be lion free, you don't want to
Yeah.
drink the Kool-Aid. That was always a game that I thought to myself, well, if they're going to lose a game, I can see them losing again in Tampa. But no, they played well. But it's going to be different. Lamar Jackson likes to run all over the place, and they're going to have to really focus in on him. You've seen how Justin Fields ran against the Lions last year, and they're kind of in the same caliber in running the ball. So they're going to have to really contain him, Lamar Jackson. The Lions are, and when you really look at it, I mean, this could be a close game next week. I'm not seeing a blowout by no means, and it's in
And
Baltimore.
the game is in Baltimore. That is
Yeah.
correct. And then I also looked at Tyreek Hill because he gained over 150 receiving yards and scored a touchdown for the fourth time this season, which is his 12th time ever. So he's now tied for the third most games with 150 plus receiving yards and a touchdown between Lance Allworth, 16, and then Jerry Rice with 14.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Dolphins, I mean, Tua is definitely spreading the ball around. Tyreek Hill's been consistent. Jalen Waddle's starting to heat up a little bit. I mean, you got two great wide receivers like in those two guys, and so they're definitely, to me, Tyreek and Jalen are definitely a must starts every week.
Right. And then there's another one, Christian McCaffrey, because he scored a touchdown in 15 consecutive weeks, including the playoffs. So right now, he is now tied for the second most all time behind Lenny Moore at 17, even though that the 49ers did lose against the Cleveland Browns. And by the way, I did watch that last play where it was no good. I know I know the networks had to cut that out because of broadcasting rules because the Lions were playing. But man, I would have never thought Cleveland would ever to win that game against San Francisco, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I kind of felt like coming off that Dallas Cowboy victory and then having to travel out east, that could have been a downer game for them, and it kind of proved to be just that. The bad thing is McCaffrey could be out. He's definitely not playing this week. So if you have Jordan Mason, he's probably going to be your guy to go with. He ran the ball 5 for 27 and a touchdown. Debo Samuel was also kind of questionable, but they're saying I just looked at the reports. They are saying that he'll possibly play this week, which is a good thing.
Okay.
But with McCaffrey, that's a blow to them. That really is. That's a major blow. And we always talked about it. McCaffrey. He can't
He
seem to
never
stay
plays a full
healthy.
season.
Right. He never plays a full season. And the 49ers, they're just going to have to. They got the Vikings this week on the road.
Monday night.
Yep, Monday night. And without McCaffrey, who knows what you're going to see. Vikings have been able to put up points, and they because the Niners don't have McCaffrey, the Vikings could pull that game out.
Right. And by the way, for those of you who know, Monday Night Football is not only on ESPN, but it's also on ABC. So basically, it's simultaneously, if I said it right. And who else did lose? The Jets beat the Eagles, so that means there are no teams that's undefeated. And then, of course, New England did lose, which is no surprise. And I figured this out. I figured that Jacksonville will beat Indianapolis because Indianapolis has a hard time beating Jacksonville at Jacksonville. So I wasn't surprised that the Jacksonville Jaguars blew out the Indianapolis Colts because Entity was having a ball. I mean, that offense was skyrocket high. Let's just put in a great way. And there's a reason why they're trying to get that AFC South title.
Yeah, and in word is now Anthony Richardson's going to be out for the season. He's going to have a season-ending surgery, so that means they're going to have to go with Gardner Minshew.
Minshew.
Hey, I feel bad, but if you got Jonathan Taylor, that running game and that offense is probably going to be focused around him. So if he can stay healthy, Jonathan Taylor is definitely a guy to put in your lineup every week because he's going to be the focal point for sure.
Right. Now that I have a feeling about Anthony Richardson being out for the season, it looks to me right now, because it's kind of early. Right now, we can look at it. It looks like the coach looks like they may be not in the playoffs. Just the way look at it as of right now. Since you don't have Anthony Richardson and you got Jonathan Taylor back with the new contract, it just seems like on paper it looks like this team's not going to make it to the playoffs. But we'll see how the season goes through.
Yeah, I mean Minshew's he's had his ups and downs. He didn't have a great game, but Jacksonville's got a great defense. I can't see him winning the South there. But I'll tell you, funnier things have happened. Michael Pittman 9 for 109 last week.
Yep.
And so Minshew's been able to spread the ball around, and maybe now that he knows he is the go-to guy, maybe you'll see a spark like you did when he was with Jacksonville.
Exactly. And then I think I remember last week you were saying about the Cincinnati Bengals. They won their game, but it looks to me right now, when you look at the Bengals, it looks like they seem to get it right, and it's clicking right now because it is almost about to be the end of October. And then when November hits, it looks like they're going to be a totally different team than they did this month and last month when you look at this Bengals team.
Yeah, I mean Joe Burrow is playing well. Jamar Chase is finally getting the ball. Tyler Boyd's getting the ball, so he's been able to spread it around. The rushing game is what kind of bothers me a little bit. Mixon hasn't been able to go off at all yet, but he was 12 for 38, not very good. But they beat Seahawks are not an easy team. They got a great defense. They beat the Lions. They beat the Lions, and the Bengals, were able to pull it out, and good for them. That just helps them in their division, keeping up with the Ravens. So right. I like the Bengals. I think they're going to start turning it around, and why not? I like Joe Burrow.
Exactly. Who do not like Joe Burrow? That'd be an idiot question to say about that. And then I also looked at what else games I looked at. I looked at the Buffalo game. I was kind of, because I said this before the season even started. I said the Buffalo Bills are going to take a step back from last year. And even though they won, it looks right now like this team is not the same. And the wide receivers, they can't even catch a football to save their own life. And Josh Allen's not the same quarterback like last year. And then Saquon Barkley, surprisingly, he played on Sunday night because before the game even started, he was questionable, but he didn't have no touchdown on Sunday Night Football.
I mean, and then when you look at that, he had 24 carries for 93 yards. That's not 3.9 average. That's really not all that great. But he was his first game back. Unfortunately, he's going to be the primary guy in that in that offense, because they really haven't been able to get anything together on the receiving end. Waller's starting to heat up tiny bit. Darius Slayton was kind of the guy that got it done for him this week. 4 for 69. Wan'Dale Robinson 8 for 62. Tyrod Taylor kind of just, he is what he is. I know they're going back to Daniel Jones, so I guess we'll see how it plays out. They are 1-5 now, and as for the Bills, the Bills they don't have a great running game. They really don't, and I think Josh Allen takes too many chances,
and they hardly ever run the football.
Yeah, and Josh Allen is the kind of he kind of runs the ball a lot like Lamar Jackson. So I mean, yeah, he can't throw it. This Diggs did have go 10 for 100, no touchdowns. But outside of Stephon Diggs, they really don't have a guy to go to receiving wise. That's stepped up over there. I thought,
Right.
Dawson Knox, the tight end, was going to do something for them, but he
But he
hasn't
didn't do it.
nothing. So yeah, so John, it is going to be kind of weird. They're winning games, but they're going to have to figure something out.
Right. And then it also makes you wonder like how they're gonna play out in the play when the playoffs begin. That's all you got. That's what you gotta be worried if you're a Buffalo Bills fan. Because you don't want to happen like last time when you played the Cincinnati Bengals, where the Bengals would just run the ball more than Buffalo did.
Right. Yep, that is true.
Exactly. And then when I look at I was gonna say the Philadelphia Eagles, but the New York Jets, somehow for some odd reason, they're still hanging on, even though Aaron Rodgers is injured for the rest of the season. Because everybody thought like the Philadelphia Eagles was gonna beat the New York Jets, but it looks, and especially from last week on Sunday Night Football, but it looks to me the Jets are more of a defense more than offense because I'm still not a Zach Wilson person because there are times he'll make some throws that's like questionable. So I'm like, no, I'm still not confident in that Jets offense
Yeah,
still, but I like their defense.
oh yeah, the defense is definitely good. I mean, you got two good linebackers in Quincy Williams and C.J. Mosley. They're in it. They're in it every week, getting tackles, especially if you're in an IDP league. Those are two guys to target. Um, Brees Hall's kind of the guy they roll around. Garrett Wilson, 8 of 90. I've yet he was allegedly supposed to be a high pick in the mock drafts in fantasy, but we haven't
Oh
really
yeah,
seen anything.
exactly.
I mean, Zach Wilson's kind of just been kind of a game manager. Didn't make any mistakes last week, and yeah,
That's right.
they did beat the Eagles, and that's a good thing. But the Eagles were kind of due for a come down
A wake up
game,
call.
like the 49ers had against the Browns.
And then I also look at the Raiders because it looks like the Raiders got another wide receiver. His name is Trey Tucker because he was the primary third wide receiver among Hunter Renfro because it's a trade rumor. Because if you look at Renfro, his playing time has slowly but surely declined because it took a dramatic step down last week with DeAndre Carter getting more playable time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. Michael Mayer's kind of finally stepped up the tight end for Notre Dame, a first round draft pick for them. So you see them kind of going with that right now. Garoppolo, I'm not high on Garoppolo. I'm not definitely not high on Brian Hoyer, who had was 6 for 10 in that game for 102. Garoppolo didn't really look great. Josh Jacobs is the guy to target if you're going to play a
Yes.
guy, but hey, he was kind of stuffed a little bit. 25 for 77, only had average 3.1 yards, and grabbed two passes for 16. But Devontae Adams, he didn't really step up
He didn't do
for
that
the Raiders.
much.
No, 2 for 29. Trey Tucker, yeah, 2 for 57. But if you need a receiver, I would kind of stay away from anybody receiving rise from the Raiders.
Right. Because Hunter Henry did left with an ankle injury, and then with the Patriots situation, like we were talking. Oh, and it looks like we got a question right now. 10.5, 10T, 5 PPR, 2 flex was just offered Eckler and Hollywood for Kelsey and Ridley. My other tight ends is Laporta.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I like Eckler. He's coming back off an injury. He's going to be the focal point for the Chargers, and I'm assuming Hollywood is that's going to be the wide receiver for Arizona. Is that good? Who is that? You know who I'm talking about? Hollywood. It's Antonio Brown's cousin.
Hollywood Brown.
Hollywood Brown. Yep, Hollywood Brown. Um, hmm, Kelsey and
And now
Ridley.
he's saying Marquise Brown.
Yeah,
Why?
Marquise Brown. Yep. Um, and you got Laporta, so you're getting rid of Kelsey. I think it's kind of a checkmate there. Eckler, I'll be honest with you. I think Eckler can get you more points than Kelsey. I think the Eckler is a better deal out of that. Ridley is a decent wide receiver, but he's hitting. It's a coin toss every week. He's home run or bust. So if you're getting uh, Eckler and Hollywood for Kelsey and
And
Ridley.
now he's
I
now
think I
he's
would
saying
take
he's
that.
leaving.
I would take that if you still had Laporta. Yeah, I don't know. I know he's not getting a ton of targets. He only had 4 last week, 4 for 34. He's kind of a home runner bust guy too. So Kyler, I don't know if he's gonna play this week. I don't know, man. Kyler Murray's kind of a hit or miss. He hasn't played all year. But I don't I think that's a decent trade.
Right,
Eckler
because it is about to be
Eckler's
that
going to be a
time
guy that
anyway.
can get you points on the ground and running the ball. Kelsey's only going to get you points through the air. Ridley's a guy that can get you points through the air. If you still have Laporta, I think that's a good trade. It depends on what you got running back wise. If you need a running back, Eckler's definitely your guy. He's going to give you more chances to get points.
Now, this is 35 minutes before 6 o'clock, by the way, because I know people are right now getting out of work and stuff like that. Now we're on to the waiver wires, by the way, because, there's a couple of teams that got bye weeks. I know the Cowboys do have a bye week after beating the Chargers, by the way. Now, I'm looking at I hate these stupid pop-ups. It looks like the Chiefs right now, his name is Rashee Rice out of Kansas City Chiefs, by the way, because he's right now leading the Chiefs with 28 targets, 245 yards, and 2 touchdowns since Justin Watson was out last week. So he's made a big impression catching all 4 of the targets for 72 yards, and he's playing only 50% so far of the snaps right now.
I'm sorry, you were broken up. Who is the guy you were referring to? I'm sorry.
Rashee Rice of Kansas City.
Oh, Rashee Rice. Yeah, he's definitely an up and coming guy. Definitely target him. He seems like he's becoming the safety net for. He's kind of coming into his own there in Kansas City. They really don't have anybody else. So that's a good thing.
Oh, and he says, let me see. Okay, now he says, Mozart, Kamara, Roshan, Madison are my running backs.
Well, Mostert's putting up decent numbers. Kamara's coming back. Rashawn, nah. Madison, he's kind of, he's playing well, but you don't know when Akers is going to get in there. Wow. Can you play 3? How many running backs? It just depends on what kind of
Depends on what league you're in.
I play in a dynasty league, and we can play a maximum of 3 running backs. So yeah,
There's usually
running backs
you can be a flex.
Yeah, running backs are kind of the diamonds in the rough when it comes to fantasy, depending on what kind of league you play in. If it's a PPR league,
the PPR.
Yeah. Oh, you can go two wide receivers and 2 flex.
2 flex.
Yeah, I mean Eckler's a guy. If it's a PPR league and you can get receptions, Eckler gives you more chances to score. And I do like Travis Kelce because he's a top tight end, probably the best in the league.
Tight end.
But
he's like the number 1 guy.
Yeah, Laporta's playing really well right now. I know, so yeah, I would take that trade. I would definitely take that trade because you never know what you're going to get with a Ridley. Ridley and the Hollywood thing are kind of, I mean, I think you're losing out a little bit because I think Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback than what Hollywood Brown has. So yeah, I think I would take that trade, to be honest with you. I would. I'd take that trade. I would take it.
And there's another one. I can't even say his name. Running back for the Carolina Panthers.
Chuba
Chuba
Howard.
Hubbard.
Chuba Howard. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he seems to be kind of coming into his own. But let's just put it this way, man. That whole team's is not good at all.
It's a wreck.
Yeah. And when you're a team that's got to play from behind, that whole running game and running scheme just isn't gonna work for you. It's not, especially if you have a running back. And Chuba Howard is not an elite running back by no means. I'm not saying that he couldn't put up
right.
Numbers.
He's okay.
He's not a guy that can take a game and put it on his back like McCaffrey. So I would say Chuba. I mean, if you need a running back, I mean he is getting more touches, but that team, you don't know what you're going to get. You just don't.
And then there's another one from the Lions, Craig Reynolds, because David Montgomery will miss a couple of games because he did get injured against the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I don't
a tough
know.
one.
Yeah, that is a tough one. I mean, I would say if you have David Montgomery, I don't think Gibbs will play again this week. That could be a toughie. I'm not really set on Reynolds. I don't know how many snaps he'll even take. To be honest with you, I think they're going to pass more in that game. To be honest with you, why not? They're I think they're kind of make those secondary of the Ravens work, because the Ravens have a decent defense too. So I really feel like they're going to run the ball, but I mean they're going to pass the ball against the Ravens. Reynolds, I would look elsewhere.
Iffy.
I don't think you're going to get iffy. He's definitely not going to catch anything out of the backfield.
Right. Oh, definitely know that. And then you also got Desmond Ridder from the Atlanta Falcons. So right now he has put together consecutive 300 plus passing yards games and finished as a top 10 fantasy QB or better 3 times this season. I didn't even know about that because he did score a pair of rushing touchdowns, and with the recent acquisition of Van Jefferson. So this could be another one that could be getting some shine in fantasy in terms of waivers.
Yeah, Desmond Ridder. I had him as a backup quarterback.
But he's kind of quiet in fantasy for some odd reason.
Yeah, because he's not. He's kind of a game manager. I mean, he's too chaotic. If you want to say it, he's one of those guys who can get you 26 in a week, and then come back and get the next week and get you 9. I think he's a young quarterback. I think they're sticking with him, which is a good sign.
Right.
So, but he still makes mistakes. Ridder, he did throw 3 interceptions.
That's the big disadvantage for him.
And if you have a quarterback and you get minus points for interceptions, that's not a good thing. He could have had more points last week, but I know I play in a league where I think it's -2 per interception. So you lost 6 points. Yeah.
Yikes. And then you also got Michael Wilson from Arizona because he has like 60 plus receiving yards for 3 consecutive games. And because this past Sunday, because he ran the same amount of routes as Hollywood Brown, because he had 15 targets across the past 4 weeks. So right now he's a top 25 wideout. So he could be big down the stretch if his target rate increases even a bit. So right now is a 6% of leagues got him as a wide receiver.
Yeah, I like Michael Wilson better out of those 2, to be honest with you, because I think he's more of he's going to be a guy that's going to kind of get you more receptions per game, whereas maybe Marquise Hollywood Brown is more. I know we talked about it, with the trade there that Derek was talking about, but
right,
he's kind of the problem with the receiving with the Cardinals is Joshua Dobbs. You don't know what you're going to get. He's kind of a up and down quarterback too, and I know he said.
Right.
He said they activated Kyler off the pup or whatever that is.
Yeah.
I just think his I don't know. Even
Exactly. It's kind
yeah,
of like iffy.
even if he plays, I mean, how good is he going to be? You know, does he
And
really
how well
develop
he's going to
any?
do in training and not training camp, but in practice.
Right, and
Because that's what I really want to know.
and it's so weird because even their tight end situation, Trey McBride is actually seeing an uptick in targets over Zach Ertz. So that's
That is
another guy
weird.
you gotta he caught the most balls for him by one, 4 for 62. But I like Michael Wilson. I mean, if you need a wide receiver, if he's on the waiver wire, shoot, go for it. But
Exactly.
don't expect Cooper Cup numbers from him,
Exactly. We
or
ain't talking about like that though.
around St. Brown. Yeah.
Exactly. At least Amara St. Brown's probably going to put up some numbers against the Ravens. I can see that,
Yeah. Absolutely. I can
but not
definitely
like
see it.
monster numbers.
I don't know. I mean, it's good. That's gonna be that game in Baltimore with the Lions and the Ravens. That's gonna be a if the Lions can pull that out, man. I'm gonna tell you something. The Lions can go in there and pull that game out. Then I'll tell you right now. I'll put it on record. I think they're gonna win the division if they can beat Lamar in Baltimore. That'll put over
That should
all
be
my
no excuse
doubts.
to of not winning the division,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And if that does happen, this will be the first time that they won since '93, and that was the last year that CBS did the NFC rights of
Mm.
football. Can't believe that. Wow. I looked it up years ago. I was like, wait a sec. That was the last year CBS did football before Fox got the rights.
Right.
That is really weird. Very weird. And then I also noticed this past Sunday, I think Arizona was wearing them all white, them classic all white jerseys. That's what it looked like. I was like, they had to be classic.
Let me see. You might be right. Yeah, they did have the
Because
all
I'm like,
white.
they had to be
Yeah, that
classic.
yeah, that kind of that definitely goes back to the St. Louis Cardinals days when they
Cardinals,
were in St.
exactly.
Louis.
Because I'm
Yeah.
like, that has to be all white classic.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
don't see them wear the classic all white Harley,
No. Hey, it's a nice change.
right? Because I know the Buccaneers did the jersey, the retro jersey. I think the Giants did their retro jersey. I don't think the Jets did their retro jersey. I don't think the Jets did.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the whole uniform thing, to be honest with you.
But I know the Giants and Buccaneers did. I know the Buccaneers and the Giants did.
Yeah, I don't dig the creamsicle jerseys. I never liked them as a kid when the Buccaneers first came on the scene in the late '70s. I'll tell you, I never dug the creamsicle jerseys.
You were thinking to yourself as a kid, you're like, "What on earth? Why are they wearing that?"
I really think honestly, it was probably a popular color is in some retrospect back in the late '70s. That's probably why
Okay,
they went with that color. And then it was, obviously it was they were an expansion team, so it was a, obviously that was a different color than all the other teams.
that sounds interesting. Okay, now we're going to the stardom or sit 'em,
Okay.
and looks like wow, there's a tons of people that you could start or sit because I remember last week I thought Matthew Stafford was going to be lighting up, but he did all right. But it looks like Matthew Stafford may be a starter for the Rams because they're going to be faced against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see a lot more. I'm going to say stardom because I think you're going to see a lot more passing going on with the Rams this week. Kyron Williams is going to be out. And after that, there's really, Rivers. They don't know if Rivers is going to play. So why not go to Pakua and Cooper Cup? Feed them
Right.
the ball. That's what I would do. Um, and so I would say, yeah, he's definitely a stardom.
And then also Jared Goff is another starter for the Lions against the Baltimore Ravens. I can see that.
Yeah,
Definitely
right.
see that
And
because
we talked about that.
Jared Goff
Yeah,
is pretty quiet.
yeah. And we talked about that too because it's like when you look at it, I mean, they're not going to have a running attack, so he's going to have to throw the ball.
Right. And the more St. Brown's more likely gonna have to step it up since Montgomery's not playing, which won't be a surprise.
Right.
And then I also looked at Jordan Love against the Broncos.
I'll tell you.
That's a coin flip.
Yeah, it is because I like the Packers. I thought I thought Jordan Love was going to be a lot better this year. But with the Denver being an unmitigated disaster and Green Bay kind of being in a disarray, I don't know. Y- I wouldn't. I'm going to say stardom for Jordan Love because Denver's defense is not really that great,
Right,
and
right.
I just think Christian Watson's now kind of getting back, so he's just getting familiar with the receivers, in my opinion. So I would say stardom, sure.
I'm glad they're not showing that game in this area. Thank goodness, because there'll be no point even watching it in the first place. Thank goodness.
Yeah, that is true.
Thank
That
goodness,
is true.
CBS, you made the right decision. And then this game, I talked to a friend of mine a couple of hours ago, and he was saying, "Man, what game is going to be for tomorrow?" And I said, "Jacksonville and New Orleans." And he looked at me as like, "This game is not going to be that good." And I don't think that Trevor Lawrence is going to be that good against the New Orleans Saints because he is expected to play Thursday night, even though he has a knee injury because he's staying in Week 6 against the Colts. So I would say sit him if I were you.
Yeah, Saints are just so in a disarray, man.
Right, right.
Yeah,
It's going to be so bad in
yeah.
terms of fantasy.
Yeah, Jaguars got a great defense, so yeah, I would say sit them.
Exactly. Of course, we did talk about Russell Wilson, and there's another one you could probably sit out is Baker Mayfield against this Atlanta Falcons defense.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. He struggled last week. He struggled against the Eagles. You know, if you have better options at quarterback, I would definitely use them. But hey, anytime you got a Michael Evans and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin in your receiving core, it's definitely you could have an electric day, or the Atlanta Falcons defense could get them. But if you have somebody better than Baker, I would say start him. But
Right.
if you got no choice, I mean, he's got some great receivers to throw to.
Exactly. And plus, not only mention this, that is a rivalry game, by the way.
Hmm.
Just letting people know about that. And then I was looking at the wide receivers as I was looking at it. I was like, okay, this wide receiver could be making an impact because we did talk about Matthew Stafford. Cooper Cup could have a great game against this Steelers defense because he did had 9 targets for 148 yards and secured a touchdown. So he could be getting some more.
Yeah, and it does, and it what helps him is Nakua being able to do about the same thing Cooper Cup can. So they're not going to just be able to focus on Cooper Cup. So they're going to have their
Right.
work cut out for him. Yep.
Exactly. And then also you got to look at Jalen Waller because he had 9 targets for 51 yards and a touchdown. So he's been modest though because he reminds me of like if you want a person that wants to get into the end zone, he's that type of guy for a wide receiver.
Yeah. Yep.
So I say start Jalen Waddle, especially if you want somebody that can get into the end zone.
Well, I mean, if you're looking for a guy that can, if you get points for long touchdowns, he's the type of guy to throw in there. He's one of those guys week in week out. He kind of fantasy wise, one week he could get you uh 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, and the next week 50 yards and maybe a score. So I mean, I think he's a start guy every week. You just kind of have to. I mean, unless you
Pay
got
attention.
a plethora of wide receivers,
Yep.
he's kind of a guy that you got to start every week, even with Tyreek Hill on the lineup. You just got to start him.
Right. And then I was looking at George Pickett, because he would have a difficult week against the Rams, and with the absence of other pass catching options, he's not recommended started for fantasy owners. This is another one that's like a coin flip, because he has showing his big play potential.
Who was the guy again? I'm sorry, you were broken up on that.
George Pickett.
George Pickens or Pickett?
Pickens, yeah, Pickens.
Pickens from the Steelers, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's another thing. Kenny Pickett isn't playing well. You probably were getting Pickett and Pickens messed up.
Yeah, probably got it mixed up between the two.
There's another thing that nobody's really kind of pulling away as the receiver there. Kenny Pickett is kind of. I mean, he's going to probably be throwing from behind in that game, because I see the Rams kind of running away with that. If I would say start him, because I think you're going to see them throwing the ball, because Najee really hasn't been able to get off to anything really well as of yet, and it's kind of scary because you're already a quarter away through the season and he hasn't been able to do much. So yeah, I would say start him.
Exactly. So for the game for tomorrow, that will be Jacksonville and New Orleans. And then Sunday Night Football, it is Miami and Philadelphia. So far right now, Miami's getting a lot of Sunday Night Football games, if you notice this season. Because they usually don't get Sunday Night Football games like that. They usually get Monday night.
Yeah, not surprising. You're looking at two of the best teams in the league right now with the Dolphins and the Eagles. That's going to be a good game. I know the Dolphins have got to play in Philly, but
depends on the temperature.
Yeah, this could kind of be a shootout a little bit, So I wouldn't be surprised if 2-0 went off in this game. Jalen Hurts, if you got Jalen Hurts, obviously start him because he's going to be the focal point there for the Eagles. But yeah, that's a great Sunday night game.
Absolutely. Now, if there was a player, if there's a player or a defense that you want to that more like will have a great week, what would it be in your opinion? It could be anybody.
Defense, I think the Rams defense will be pretty good this week, going up against the Steelers, especially with a young quarterback in Kenny Pickett. I wouldn't be surprised the Browns had a decent time on the defensive side of the ball against the Colts. I mean, they were able to beat 49ers. They should be able to go in there and beat the Colts.
Exactly, and they'll be like 500. They'll be like over 500, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, and there's a quick update.
What's that?
Go ahead.
No. I guess it just depends.
No,
if you see if Deshaun Watson plays in that game. Of course, you know what I'm saying? Because they were saying he was kind of iffy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So if the Browns were to win against the Colts, they are over 500. So if they were to beat the Colts, they'll be 4-2 in the AFC North. So that's not bad. And I know there's a quick update. So right now, there is a baseball game tonight. That is the Houston Astros and the Texas Rangers. Right now, Texas is leading 2-0. The game is in Arlington at Globe Life Field, and that will be at 8:03. That will be on Fox Sports 1. So just letting people know about that, just in case if you're looking for a baseball game to watch.
Yeah, it's been some weird baseball. You see the Braves are out, the Dodgers got eliminated, Orioles got eliminated, and you're seeing two Texas teams Rangers are really kind of putting it
Right.
together. I mean, I'm happy for them. They were good there a few years ago when they were knocking Detroit out of the playoffs.
Yep.
Uh, Houston, they play better on the road. Houston does. So, Houston's not going to go away lightly. And I know in the NL, when you look at those games, Phillies are just on fire.
Oh
And
yeah, 10-0.
yeah, 10-0. They were
My
5-3 on
goodness.
Monday night. Yeah, I mean, I just don't think the Diamondbacks have the firepower to play against the Phillies. I don't know, Sean. I
It's
don't
weird
really
though.
dig this whole playoff thing, like with all these wild card games. Because I honestly, I feel
It's
like,
too much.
yeah, I feel like these teams like the Braves and the Dodgers and the Orioles, these teams that have got these buys, it kind of cools them off a little bit. And
Yeah.
it's so funny that you've seen them eliminated.
Right. And then tomorrow, the National League Championship Series will be at 5:07. That'll be on TBS, and then Game 4 will be at 8:03. That'll be on Fox Sports, the cable channel. So
Yep.
just letting people know about that. All right. So we can finally do our prayer props. So new draft fantasy sports customers can use promo code Sports for America to get an instant match deposit up to $100. So if you put 50, they give you 50. If you put 100, they give you 100, vice versa. Okay, so like I said, this is a Thursday night football game player prop. So the first one we have Derek Carr, 238 and a half passing yards.
Over.
All right. Oh, he said that in confidence. Alvin Kamara, 53 and a half rushing yards.
Over.
Okay. Michael Thomas, 50 and a half receiving yards.
I'm going to say over.
Okay. And then Travis, I can't even say his last name. Tierney, did I say it right? 63 and a half rushing yards.
I think it's Etienne.
Okay. Etienne. Okay. 63 and a half rushing yards.
And who do they play this week?
New Orleans. It's New Orleans and Jacksonville.
Oh, that's right. You're talking about the New Orleans. I'm going to say
this
over.
Thursday night football.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go over. Yeah.
So all four of them are over.
All
Gotcha.
four
Right.
are over.
But hey, I'm going to watch the game, but I don't think fantasy-wise it's going to be that exciting. That's what I'll just put it.
Yeah, this is going to be it'll be a weird game, but
right. But not like last week, because I said last week I was like, oh no, this is not going to be that good. But this week, this should be better.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right. So that is it. So I know right now, people are getting out of work, watching the news or whatever, or just like me and Scotty, we're going to be watching baseball. Because I can't believe baseball postseason is actually that late, by the way. I remember one time it used to be early, but thanks to the expansion of the playoff. But that's here and no there. But we will see you guys next week, and we'll let you know. I'll let you know when we're going to be on the air. So thank you so very much. You guys have a wonderful and safe night. Take care.